Hello, friends of truth and justice. I'm Reverend Don James, the National Director of Bridges for Peace Canada, a movement of Christians supporting Israel. In Winnipeg this spring, there is a travesty of misinformation unfolding at the Canadian Museum of Human Rights. Let me explain. History matters. As a Christian, I marvel at the ridiculous narrative that Jesus was a Palestinian. All four Gospels paint a very Jewish picture of Jesus, born into a family and a people who had practiced Judaism in Judea for 2,000 years before his birth. And the Romans didn't rename Judea as Syria Palestina until 135 AD, more than 100 years after Jesus ascended to heaven. Yet, the idea that Jesus was the first Palestinian martyr is presented without shame. No less ridiculous is the twisting of history being contemplated by the museum in its proposed exhibit, Palestine Uprooted, Nakba Past and Present. In the words of the museum, the plan is to connect historical and ongoing human rights violations related to the ongoing forced displacement and dispossession of Palestinians. Nakba is the Arabic name for what happened in 1948, after Israel accepted the UN partition plan and declared its independence. Nakba means catastrophe in Arabic, and it was a catastrophe for those Arabs who are now known as Palestinians. But the Nakba was entirely self-inflicted, as I will explain. Is it a catastrophe to leave your home of perhaps several or even many years and find yourself in a neighboring country that refuses to help you? To be sure. And here we have both sides of the issue and why history matters. Why did you leave your home? And why did neighboring Arab countries refuse to help you? Why did you have to leave your home? Or did you have to leave? The Palestinian narrative included in the museum's announcement is that it was a forced displacement. This is the big lie upon which this exhibit loses all credibility. To be sure, Palestine became a war zone, and there was displacement and movement of between 450,000 and 900,000 Arabs from their homes in what became the State of Israel on May 14, 1948. But how is this forced displacement when your people group are offered their own state by the UN, and when the other side, the Jews, are telling you to stay put? And your side's answer is to attack your Jewish neighbors along with the very significant military help of 5 neighboring Arab countries, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq. Once the war started, there were some forced displacements, including 50 to 60,000 Arabs who were moved by the IDF from Ramla and Lod because they were preventing the free movement of Jewish supplies to Jerusalem. But a majority of Arabs left on their own. The wealthy leadership class left even before the war had even started. There's a well-known and verified story of Golda Meir being sent by David Ben-Gurion to the Arab leadership of Haifa to implore the Arabs to stay in their homes with assurances of safety and normalcy. Yet these Arab leaders still advised their people to flee. In 1980, this was acknowledged by the Arab National Committee of Haifa. They said the removal of the Arab inhabitants was voluntary and was carried out at our request. We proudly asked for their evacuation to neighboring Arab states. And another Arab source, the Institute for Palestinian Studies, concluded in a research paper that the majority of Arab refugees were not expelled, and 68% of them left without even seeing an Israeli soldier. The myth of forced displacement is the fatal flaw in the proposed Nakba exhibit. When you start a war against your neighbors, the consequences are on you. The suffering of Palestinians in 1948 and to this day is almost entirely self-inflicted. Blaming Israel is a grave injustice and will only fuel the Jew hatred that is already raging around the world. There are 2 more aspects of this story that the museum exhibit will not tell. The first concerns the Arabs who did not flee, 160,000 of them who stayed put and have become an Arab-Israeli population of 2 million today, with full civil rights. They are among the most prosperous and free Arabs in the world. A second story, this one a true story of forced displacement, is that 800,000 to 1 million Jews were forced from Middle Eastern countries in the years following 1948. Forced out without even their possessions by Arab governments furious over the creation of the tiny Jewish state in Palestine. Earlier I mentioned that neighboring Arab countries refused to help the Arab refugees from Palestine. Instead, a separate UN agency was created, UNRWA, essentially to keep the Arab refugees in limbo as a way of pressuring Israel to allow them to return. Today, treating descendants as refugees, which is true of no other refugee group, Palestinian refugees supposedly number 7 million, even though only between 10 and 20,000 of those who actually left Palestine in 1948 are still alive. Meanwhile, those up to 1 million Jewish refugees from Arab lands that I mentioned, they have all been long ago absorbed by Israel and other countries. Like UNRWA has done for decades, the Human Rights Museum is embarking on a completely unhelpful distortion of history. The CMHR's media representative, Amanda Godes, wrote to the Winnipeg Jewish Review that the exhibit is not a historical retrospective, and it will share the stories of Palestinian Canadians who were displaced during the 1948 Nakba. So the museum admits that the exhibit will not be historical and seems fine with that. The museum seems happy magnifying the grievance stories of people who have suffered for sure, but because of their own bad choices and those of their leaders, namely to refuse the offer of their own state, to refuse the offer of the Jews to remain in the new Jewish state, and to attempt by violence to take over the whole disputed territory. There is a catastrophe unfolding here, a grievously misleading exhibit, hostile to Jews, and no help to Palestinians who need to get on with their lives and leave the Jews alone. I urge all concerned Canadians to contact Mark Miller, the Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture, who's responsible for our national museums, as well to contact the CEO of the museum. She is isha.khan, K-H-A-N, at humanrights.ca. Let us not cooperate with this effort to distort the history of Israel. Truth and justice serve the interests of everyone.